Hey everybody, welcome to DadsDen of Pop Culture and Mighty Thor Monday. We have reached Thor, number 349, from November of 1984. We are on the cusp of a big one, although we might take a little detour before we get there. Let's dive into this, dude. Art and story by Walter Simonson. Lettering John Workman Jr. Colors Christy Scheel. Editing Mark Greenwald. Editor-in-Chief, Jim Shooter. Okay, last issue. The casket of ancient winters was broken, unleashing, as they put it here, the icy flurries of Earth's former glacial ages across the world. Thor escapes with Roger Willis, with Lorelei, and with the unconscious Malekith, and they escape just as the entrance to the kingdom of Faerie is icing over. They could have been trapped, folks. They could have been trapped. So Thor decides he needs to get back to New York because he can't do much here. And so he spins the hammer so fast that it opens up like a wormhole. And back they go to the apartment of Melody. Now, you're going to find in this particular issue, we're wrapping up a few threads, or maybe not so much wrapping them up, but we're taking a lot of threads from the last several issues, and we're kind of twirling them all together, and we're getting down to the heart of the matter. So this one sort of resolves things, sort of bridges the gap between things. It's going to get us where we're going, but there are a few interesting parts in it. We get a bit of Thor and Melody. Willis is like, I don't trust this lady. I think there's something going on here. And he kind of realizes what it is. He wants to talk to Thor. Melody gets him out of the room, though, while Thor is calling his boss at the construction site, who's, kind of like, he figures, since Nick Fury helped get him the job, he figures he's probably part of S.H.I.E.L.D. That's why he was missing. No big deal. Well, Melody asks Roger, please, yes, I use the golden mead, but Thor needs me. He needs a woman to love. Promise me you won't tell him. And she kisses him. And what happens? Well, he comes back in and, Thor's like, well, what is it? Nothing, Thor. And he says, or thinks, I can't believe it. I actually can't get out the words, as though I've been blocked against it. Kind of reminds me of a subplot from Dark Shadows. Ooh, Dazzler, the movie. I have ordered the final comic to complete my Dazzler collection, but I still need that. So Roger pretends to knock over a vase like he's a little bit woozy from the trip. He goes in and he finds the golden mead. He pours some of it out and pours in some honey and water. So he's trying to dilute it. He can't tell Thor what's going on, but maybe he can help a little bit. And we hear from, again, we see the thoughts of Lorelei here. She's like, glad that he's drinking it, for repeated drafts will only increase your dependency on the mead and your love for me till you burn night and day with desire, and only Lorelei will be able to assuage your fever. All right, so diluting it might help Thor in the long run. Back to Asgard. Angmar and Balder have arrived at Asgard. Angmar realizes that Balder knew who he was the whole time, knew he was the guy who was out to slay him, trusted him behind him on the horse, his back exposed. And he's like, dude, this truly is, the greatest man that I've ever met. And Odin himself says, brave Balder, you are the noblest Asgardian of all. But he comes in and tells him of this vision he had, of this flaming shadow, destroying maybe everything. Odin's like, yeah, it's kind of what I thought. He looks in his looking glass, sees Thor with this woman, and he's like, oh, dude, does he have another mortal that he's going after? He's not real happy about that. But he also sees he has Malekith. Okay, now he's positive. Surtur is involved in this. But at the end, he sees it is a Lorelei. And he says, well, I'm not going to do anything about it. As long as it's not a mortal woman, it's none of my business. Thor arrives with Malekith in Asgard on the Rainbow Bridge with Heimdall. And Heimdall's kind of like, yeah, Odin sort of knows, so get on in there. He's having a council of war. So off Thor goes to the council of war. He hooks back up a little bit with Balder. How's it going? How are you doing? Much better. The desert agreed with me. And what we get here now is a story from Odin. So there's still an epic element to this one, even though it's sort of just, tying up loose ends. But we get the story of how all of this started. And it is a story about Odin with his brothers, Vili and Ve. And if it's actually not pronounced Ve, I apologize. I first read some of this stuff when I was in elementary school, or just out of elementary school. I always pronounced it that way. And, I look at it now and I say, that might not be right, but it's so ingrained in my brain that there we go. So a young Odin, who a little resemblance to Thor if he had a beard. Yeah, just wait for that. Also a little resemblance to Chuck Norris. I think they missed out when Chuck Norris did not play Odin in the Thor movies. So they have come to the gates of Muspelheim to do a little bit of exploring, they say. They encounter the fire demons, say, oh, we're just explorers, and well, let us bring you to our master. And when they get there, hear me, O Lord, 3 gifts I bring you from the land of flesh. Of their own free will and inclination have they come. Will you not speak with them? Well, it sounds like they're in trouble, and in fact, Surtur emerges from this ocean of fire, ocean of lava. And that sword looks familiar, doesn't it? That is the sword of doom. And they banter with him a bit, and they ask, is it true that you're going to destroy all the 9 worlds? It is true, little god. Behold the sword that shall raise all that is when the end of time is nigh, and Surtur shall be last as he was first, oldest of all who live. And it all comes down to this sword and kind of striking this eternal flame that burns in this giant goblet. That's what he will use to destroy everything. And so Odin replies, well, hey, if that's true, 'twould be best for all who live if Surtur's sword were broken and the flame put out. Well spoken, young Odin. A rare jape from one who is about to die. The flame cannot be extinguished, for so the fates themselves have decreed. And as for my sword, break it if you can. And he brings it down, among the brothers. So they're in quite a fight. So what do? Well, dude, they go Mecha Shiva. The 3 brothers combine their powers and become this giant warrior. We are one. Let the wrath of the icy wastes be matched against the anger of the burning giant. And we get this epic battle that goes on for who knows how long between them. And the brothers realize they cannot defeat Surtur, but they decide we're going to try one more time. And it says, they brought all our energy and power into focus, channeling it into our sword at the last moment before impact. Crackadoom. So, what happens? The sword is broken, and Surtur descends back into the fiery, pit, and the brothers are no longer joined together. So they say, we got to get out of here. They grab the goblet, and they run. And at that point, Surtur is coming up out of the, I want to say water, but really out of the lava, we'll say, stop, godlings, stop, or no, I shall never rest until I have my revenge. It's kind of like, somebody chasing Dennis the Menace because he's just done something to their front window. And so they chase them all the way to the entrance, or, well, in this case, the exit of Muspelheim. Excuse me for falling over my words. It's just so epic. It's just so amazing. They flee through, Odin in the lead. And when he gets out, he realizes that Vili and Ve have not come with him. They're like, no, we're going to seal this up. You have to escape. He must not get it. If we just run, he will follow us into the 9 worlds, no matter where we go. And there's this giant explosion, and the gate is sealed. And then all of a sudden, he is struck with the power that they held as the sons of Bor. And that is kind of the origin here of the Odin force. It's the combination of the power of the 3 brothers. And he knows then that they are gone forever. And thus he finishes his tale. I knew that to breach the wall once more was to open the world again to Surtur, and that the sacrifice of my brothers would be in vain. O Vili, O Ve, would that we had never journeyed to that cursed land. And yet, have I not guarded the eternal flame, lo, these many eons? Does it not even now reside within the walls of Asgard? And yet, safe no longer, for deadly Surtur has at last breached the walls of Muspelheim, shattering them where they were weakest in the heart of the burning galaxy, a galaxy he destroyed to create the forge wherein he might remake the sword of doom. So have I called the hosting of Asgard. Certain it is that Surtur will seek out the foot of the Rainbow Bridge on earth, that he might travel thereby to Asgard and ignite the sword of doom in the eternal flame. So it all comes together. Surtur has to get to Asgard to destroy everything, that he will be the last being remaining. But Odin has a trick left up his sleeve. He says, because everything is so dire, I'm calling in a favor. I'm calling in one who is as powerful as Thor. I summon to Asgard Beta Ray Bill. Kathoom! Beta Ray Bill, I choose you. Next, Ragnarok and roll. I wouldn't miss the next issue if I were you, kids. You just might regret it for the rest of your life. Enough said. And that was the first Thor back issue, maybe the first back issue I ever bought when I was first getting into comics. And it's what got me to want to buy, like, all the Simonson books, which I finally did last year. So we're going to take a detour because I think it actually makes sense. We're going to look next week at an issue of the Avengers where some of this stuff plays out on Earth and leads to Ragnarok and roll. And some of the stuff that happens there will be addressed in later issues of this series as well. So next week, Mighty Thor Monday is also going to be Earth's Mightiest Heroes Monday as we check in on an issue of the Avengers. And then we'll hit Thor number 350. Let me know in the comments what you think of this book, of this series, of that little bit of a tale, of sort of the origin of, the Odin Force. I think it's a pretty good story. I think it works. I don't think it breaks anything for this book. And I like that it folds in, Vili and Ve, which are from the mythology, because, the Marvel Thor, it plays a little bit loose with, Norse mythology. And of course, Norse mythology, a lot of that, there are different stories that don't always agree with each other either. So there's always a little interpretation. But I like that Simonson folds some of these characters, and there will be some more later, into the book. Okay, but let me know what you think in the comments. If you enjoyed this, please give it a like, maybe subscribe, maybe share with a friend. But until next time, God bless everybody. Please be kind to one another. Have a little bit of fun out there. And I will hopefully see you again soon in Dad's Den of Pop Culture. Bye-bye.